What if I told you there are places in Canada, right now, in 2026, where you can get a piece of land for $10? Not 10,000, not 1,000, 10, as in the crumpled bill you'd use to buy a mediocre sandwich at a gas station. And it gets stranger. Some of these places aren't asking for $10, they're asking for $1. And one of them? Zero. Now, before you start packing your bags and drafting your resignation letter, you need to know what you're actually signing up for. Because these towns aren't giving away land out of charity. They're giving it away out of desperation. And the difference between a life-changing opportunity and an expensive lesson in regret comes down to whether you understand what free actually costs. Today, we're looking at 8 Canadian towns where the land is practically free, and we're going to be brutally honest about every single one. The price, the catch, the winter, the distance to the nearest anything, and whether any of it is actually worth your time. Let's get into it.
Town 1, Cochrane, Ontario. We're starting with the biggest story in Canadian real estate that most people still haven't fully wrapped their heads around. Cochrane, Ontario. Population, about 5,400 according to the 2021 census. Distance from Toronto, roughly 760 kilometers north, or somewhere between 8 and 9 hours of driving through increasingly empty highway. And yet, this tiny town in northern Ontario generated more real estate buzz than most Toronto condo launches when it announced plans to sell residential lots for $10 each. Not a typo, $10. Here's the backstory. Cochrane sits in the heart of Ontario's mining country: nickel, lithium, gold. According to Mayor Peter Politis, the second largest gold mine in North America operates in the region, and a major new base metal mine between Cochrane and Timmins, which, based on reporting, could require over 1,000 employees, is projected to become operational around 2027. Employees who will need homes that don't exist yet. Mayor Peter Politis, who's been in Cochrane since 1990 and has served multiple terms as mayor, saw an opportunity. The town owned hundreds of vacant lots, around 400 in the initial phase, with potentially up to 1,500 total, including unserviced land, all sitting there generating zero tax revenue. So, council adopted a proposal: sell them for $10 a pop, pair it with a property tax rebate, and let people build. The response? According to the mayor, over 4,000 inquiries from individuals and developers across Canada and internationally. But let's talk about what you're actually getting. Cochrane is offering both serviced and unserviced lots. Serviced lots, meaning water, sewer, and road access are already in place, are earmarked for individuals and families who can demonstrate the financial ability to build a home within roughly 2 years. Unserviced lots go to developers through a bidding process. Either way, you're not just buying the lot and sitting on it. You build or you lose it. The town is also partnering with Habitat for Humanity to explore high-density apartment projects and innovative housing designs, so this isn't just a "here's your dirt, good luck" situation. There's a genuine community improvement plan behind it, developed in partnership with consultants who specialize in municipal planning. Now, the reality check. It's important to note that as of late 2024, this program was still being finalized. The town was working through its community improvement plan and regulatory framework. Based on the most recent reporting, the lots were expected to begin selling in late 2024 or early 2025, so if you're watching this, the program may now be active or still in its rollout phase. Check the Town of Cochrane website directly for the latest status. Cochrane is 8 to 9 hours from Toronto by car. The nearest major airport is in Timmins, about an hour away. Ontario Northland is reportedly reinstating passenger rail service, but until that actually happens, you're driving. Winter here doesn't joke around. Temperatures routinely plunge well below -20 in January. The town has one of everything: one hospital, one main street, one way in and one way out. But here's the thing. As the mayor himself pointed out in an interview with Maclean's, commuting from Timmins to Cochrane takes less time than commuting across Toronto in rush hour. The town has free Wi-Fi downtown, a public bike share program, paddle boats on Commando Lake, and, I am not making this up, a polar bear habitat where you can see actual polar bears. You can walk to everything in 5 minutes, and with the mining industry booming, there are real, well-paying jobs within reach. Who this is for? Remote workers priced out of southern Ontario, mining industry employees looking to plant roots, young families who want a house and a yard for less than what a parking spot costs in Vancouver. Who this is not for? anyone who panics when the nearest Costco is 2 hours away, anyone who considers -30 an emergency, not a Tuesday.
Town 2. Pipestone, Reston, Manitoba. Here's the catch first. You have to build a home within 1 year. And you need to put down a $1,000 deposit. And the nearest city of any real size is about 2 hours away. Still here? Good, because now let me tell you the price. $10. The rural municipality of Pipestone in southwestern Manitoba has been running one of Canada's most successful free land programs for years. The municipality encompasses several small towns, Reston being the largest at roughly 500 people, and they've been selling residential lots for $10 each. As of the initial reporting back around 2015, 19 of the original 24 lots had been snapped up, and the program had expanded to neighboring towns of Pipestone and Sinclair. Based on what we know, the program appears to still be operating in some form, though lot availability may have changed. It's worth contacting the municipality directly for current status. The deal works like this. You pay $10 for the lot and put down a refundable $1,000 deposit. Build a home within 1 year, and $990 of that deposit comes back to you. Effectively, your total land cost is $20. But Pipestone goes further than just cheap dirt. The municipality sweetens the deal with meaningful tax incentives, up to $6,000 for building a new home, $4,000 for buying an existing home, and, this is the one that turns heads, up to $32,000 for opening a business. That's not a typo either. $32,000 in incentives if you start a business in a town that desperately wants entrepreneurs. The result? According to CBC reporting from the program's early years, about 20 new homes were built in Reston over a 2-year period, representing roughly a 10% population increase for a town of 500. New families brought kids, and the town started looking at subsidized daycare. There's a school, good child care facilities, and plans for a splash park. For a town of 500, that's a renaissance. But let's not romanticize this. Southwestern Manitoba is flat, prairie flat, the kind of flat where you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. Winters are long, windy, and relentlessly cold. Winnipeg is your closest major center at about 2 hours, and major is doing some heavy lifting there depending on your reference point. Entertainment options are limited to what you create yourself, what nature provides, and whatever Netflix can deliver over your rural internet connection. The people who thrive here are the ones who already know they want this life. Homesteaders, people raising kids who'd rather have a backyard and a creek than a condo and a commute. If that sounds like you, $10 and a willingness to swing a hammer might be all that's standing between you and a completely different life.
Town 3. Craik, Saskatchewan. There's a town in central Saskatchewan that tried to die. Tried pretty hard, actually. And then it did something unusual. It decided to fight back with ecology. Craik sits between Regina and Saskatoon, right along the Trans-Canada Corridor on Highway 11. Population? Around 400, depending on who's counting and what year. It's the kind of place that was built during the grain boom and has been slowly emptying ever since. The same story you've heard 100 times about 100 prairie towns. But Craik has a twist. According to multiple sources, the town began offering vacant lots for as little as $1 to anyone willing to submit an application and commit to building within 2 years. The exact start date varies by source. Some report around 2017, but the program appears to have been running for several years. The lots come with road access, water, sewer, and electricity hookups, which is significant because in many of these free land deals you're starting from scratch. Here, the infrastructure is already in the ground. What makes Craik genuinely different, though, is the Craik Eco Village. Based on available listings and descriptions, this is a cluster of homes built with environmental sustainability at their core. ICF block foundations surrounded with styrofoam insulation, metal roofs, in-floor heating, natural gas. These aren't shacks. They're thoughtfully designed, energy-efficient homes that were purpose-built to demonstrate what sustainable rural living can look like. Based on recent MLS listings, the average home price in Craik appears to range from roughly $49,000 on the low end to around $194,000, which means even if you don't grab a dollar lot, you could be buying a house for what a Toronto resident pays in annual daycare and mortgage interest. The downside nobody mentions, Craik is quiet. And I don't mean peaceful village at sunset quiet. I mean you can hear your own heartbeat on Main Street quiet. The town has limited commercial services. Grocery shopping involves a drive. The job market is essentially agriculture, public sector, or whatever you bring with you. Cell coverage and high-speed internet are improvements in progress, not certainties. And the winter wind on the Saskatchewan prairie is something you feel in your skeleton, not just on your skin. But Craik has something most dying towns don't, a story worth joining. The eco-village attracts a certain kind of person, creative, self-directed, sustainability-minded, and that creates a community that's more interesting than you'd expect from a dot on the prairie map. If you're the type who gets excited about permaculture and passive solar design, Craik isn't just free land, it's a movement you can build a life around.
Town 4, McAdam, New Brunswick. Let's shift coasts. McAdam, New Brunswick sits right along the Maine border, about an hour's drive southwest of Fredericton. The 2016 census recorded a population of about 1,150, though the village has likely grown somewhat since then, thanks to the initiatives we're about to discuss. McAdam is a former railroad town. In its heyday, it was a bustling hub on the Canadian Pacific Railway line, with a population that peaked at around 2,800 in the 1950s. The McAdam Railway Station, built in 1900 and designated as both a national and provincial historic site, still stands as evidence that this place used to matter on the national stage. But as rail traffic dried up, so did the town. In 2018, the village council did something bold. Working with the provincial government, they acquired 16 residential lots, properties that had previously held run-down or abandoned houses. The village tore down the structures, prepared the lots, and offered the newly cleared, fully serviced land for $1 each. $1 for lots ranging from roughly 5,300 to 11,000 square feet, with water and sewer already connected. Buyers also put down a deposit to ensure they'd actually follow through on building. The response was overwhelming. According to the mayor at the time, Ken Stanix, over 600 inquiries poured in from across Canada and from as far away as India and Pakistan. 14 of the original 16 lots sold, with the remaining 2 pending. The village focused on choosing buyers who genuinely intended to build a home and become part of the community rather than flip the land. The results? By 2020, according to CBC reporting, around 90 homes had been sold in the wider McAdam area, not just the dollar lots, but regular home sales, driven by the publicity. The population had grown by roughly 100 people, a significant bump for a village this size. New businesses were opening, and the community was attracting interest from across Canada. It's worth noting that the original dollar lots are long gone, but the ripple effect on the broader housing market and community momentum appears to have been lasting. Current lot and home availability can be checked through local real estate listings. One couple, Adam and Jess Bronson, bought a 5-bedroom home in McAdam for under $50,000 after hearing about the town's initiatives. They didn't even buy one of the dollar lots. The buzz from the program alone made them sell their Montreal house within 2 days of hearing about it. Here's what you're trading for that dollar lot. McAdam is small, truly small. The nearest city of any size is Fredericton, and that's an hour away. The winters are New Brunswick winters, not as brutal as northern Ontario, but they're real. You're essentially on the border with Maine, which means you're closer to Vancouver, a town of 150, than you are to anything with a shopping mall. The job market is a mix of manufacturing, public sector, and tourism. The historic railway station reportedly draws up to 30,000 visitors a year, according to local accounts, so there's a base for tourism-related businesses if you're entrepreneurial. The vibe? McAdam has the feel of a place that knows what it was and is genuinely trying to figure out what it wants to become. It's not pretending to be something it isn't. Former Mayor Ken Stanix has said the ultimate goal was to increase the population by 1,000, back toward its railroad-era peak.
Whether that happens depends on whether enough people decide that peace, quiet, affordable housing, and a community that actually knows your name is worth trading urban convenience for.
Town 5, Mundair, Alberta. Let me paint a picture of contrast for you. In Calgary, the average home price has been pushing into the $500,000 plus range. In Edmonton, you're looking at upwards of $400,000. In a standard Alberta suburb, a basic residential lot, unbuilt, just dirt, can easily run you well into six figures before you've so much as poured a foundation. Now consider Mundair, Alberta. Population? Around 855 according to past reporting. Location? East of Edmonton on the Yellowhead Highway. Claim to fame? A giant Ukrainian sausage statue. The world's largest, in fact. I'll let you sit with that for a second. Mundair's town council saw commercial lots in the heart of downtown sitting empty for years and decided to sell them for $1 each. $1 for a lot on Main Street. The conditions? Obtain a development permit, begin construction within 1 year, and finish the project within the following year. The key detail here is that this was specifically a commercial land program, not residential. The goal was to rejuvenate the commercial core. Since the program launched, a real estate office and a children's daycare have been built, both things the town needed badly. According to reporting on the town's official website, all originally available lots have been sold, and there's now a waiting list. Let's be direct about what Mundair is and isn't. It isn't a place to buy a residential lot for free. This was a commercial land program, so if you're picturing yourself building a homestead, this isn't your stop. But if you've been dreaming about starting a small business, a cafe, a workshop, a retail space, in a town where the real estate cost is literally $1, Mundair is worth a serious look. The town has electricity, water, and sewer. It's close enough to Edmonton that you're not completely cut off, roughly an hour's drive. The Ukrainian cultural heritage is genuine and well preserved, which gives the town a character that most cookie-cutter suburbs can't touch. The catch? All available lots are gone. You're on a waiting list, and even if a lot opens up, you're committing to commercial construction in a town of 855 people. That requires either a very solid business plan or a very adventurous spirit, preferably both.
Town 6, South Knowlesville, New Brunswick. This one is different from everything else on this list, and I want you to understand why before you get excited. Sometime around 2010, a couple named Tegan and Leland Wong Daughtery bought roughly 130 acres of mixed forest, field, and wetland in western New Brunswick, outside the town of Heartland, for about $130,000. They built themselves a straw bale insulated house, and then they looked at the remaining land and asked a question that very few property owners in Canada ever ask: what if we just gave it away? They created the South Knowlesville Community Land Trust. Through this trust, they offer 2.5-acre plots at no cost. The idea was to create a small, dense rural neighborhood where people committed to off-grid living, homesteading, and community could put down roots without the financial barrier of land ownership. According to an article published by the NB Media Co-op, the original 7 neighbors on the road grew to roughly 70 over 16 years. People came from all over Canada and internationally, drawn not just by the free land, but by the culture and community itself, as well as a small community-run school. There are monthly meetings to discuss communal business, shared land taxes, and collective management of common areas. But, and this is the big but, South Knowlesville is not a typical free land program. This is an intentional community. The land operates under a community trust model, meaning you don't individually own the land. You live on it, you use it, you build on it, but the trust holds the title. You have to live in the community for a year before receiving a plot to make sure the lifestyle actually fits. Decisions require consensus. As one visitor from Ontario put it in a CBC interview, needing unanimous agreement before doing anything is not easy. The lifestyle is genuinely off-grid. Straw bale houses, short growing seasons, long blackfly seasons, no municipal services in the conventional sense. The nearest cities, Fredericton and Moncton, are accessible but not close. You're in the Appalachian foothills, surrounded by forest. The founder himself has said this community isn't for everyone. The growing season is short, the bugs are relentless, and community living requires a tolerance for human complexity that not everyone possesses. But for those who find their fit, the residents describe it as transformative. Who this is for: people drawn to intentional community, permaculture, off-grid homesteading, and the idea of building something collectively. People who don't mind that free land comes with social obligations and communal decision-making. Who this is not for: anyone who wants to own their land outright, anyone who values privacy over community, anyone who hears consensus-based decision-making and feels their blood pressure rise. That's not a criticism, it's self-knowledge, and it matters.
Town 7, Koopar, Saskatchewan. The catch with Koopar is time. Not the time it takes to build, the time this program has reportedly been running. Koopar, Saskatchewan, a town of roughly 400 people about an hour northeast of Regina, has, according to multiple secondary sources, been offering lots for as little as $1 since the early 1990s. If that's accurate, it's over 3 decades, which could imply one of two things. Either the program has been so successful that it just keeps going, or there haven't been enough takers to exhaust the supply. The truth is likely a blend of both. The deal, as reported, is straightforward. Apply through the local government office, show proof of residency, and wait for approval. Past buyers have reportedly received free municipal taxes and water for the first year. That said, it's difficult to confirm the current status of this program with certainty. Some of these prairie town initiatives operate informally and don't maintain much of an online presence. If Koopar interests you, a direct phone call to the town office is your best first step. Koopar's setting is quintessential Saskatchewan: rolling hills, lush green fields during the brief summer, and an absolute ocean of sky in every direction. It's close enough to Regina that you're not marooned. About an hour's drive gives you access to a city with an international airport, hospitals, universities, and actual shopping. The hard truth: Koopar is a town of 400. There is no way to sugarcoat what that means for daily life. Services are limited. The job market is agriculture and whatever you create. Healthcare means driving. The winter prairie wind is a force of nature that will test your insulation, your vehicle, and your resolve. Internet connectivity is a work in progress across rural Saskatchewan, and Koopar is no exception. But the math is hard to argue with. $1 for a lot, free taxes and water for a year, an hour from a real city. If you've got a remote job and a desire for space, Koopar is one of the most quietly underrated options on this entire list. It doesn't generate headlines like Cochrane. It doesn't have Craik's eco-village story. It's just been sitting here for 30 years offering land for $1, waiting for the right person to notice.
Town 8, Yukon, agricultural crown lands. Every other town on this list has been a small community making a big bet. This last one is an entire territory making a permanent offer. The Yukon government, through its agricultural land programs, makes undeveloped crown land available to Canadian citizens and permanent residents who commit to farming it. We're talking 15 to 160 acres of wild, forested northern land. Through what's called the Spot Land program, you can apply for a parcel of land more than 100 kilometers from a municipality, between 6 and 65 hectares in size, that you develop for agricultural purposes. Now, an important clarification: despite what some headlines say, this land isn't technically free. As the Yukon's agricultural lands manager has pointed out, farmers pay for the land through the development process itself. But the concept is remarkable nonetheless. The process works like this. You must have lived in the Yukon for at least 1 year. You identify a parcel of land, submit your application with a farm development plan, and the agriculture branch assesses whether the soil and conditions are viable. If approved, you sign a 7-year agreement for sale. During those 7 years, you develop the land, clearing forest, building access roads, putting in power lines, improving soil. The Yukon uses a 1-for-1 equity model.
For every dollar of work you put in, that value goes toward the purchase price of the land. Meet your development goals by year 7 and the title transfers to you. According to a government official speaking to the Thomson Reuters Foundation, the Yukon had given away nearly 8,000 acres through this program over the preceding decade, with roughly 10 new parcels allocated per year. Most are concentrated around Whitehorse. The Yukon Agricultural Association notes the program has been running for over 40 years, with nearly 40,000 acres allocated in total for agricultural development. There's also the Planned Land Program, which offers pre-surveyed lots within 100 kilometers of a municipality. These are competitive. You submit a farm business plan, and applications are scored against each other. You pay some upfront development costs that the government incurred to prepare the lot, but the land itself is effectively free. Now, let's talk about what farming the Yukon actually means. The growing season is short, brutally short. You're planting after June 1st, and killing frosts can technically happen any month of the year. Winters plunge well below -20, and January routinely hits -30 or worse. The land you're getting isn't cleared farmland. It's wild, forested terrain that takes serious physical and financial investment to make productive. 80% of the soil on your parcel needs to be at least Class 5, which in agricultural terms means it has very severe limitations. Most farming in southern Canada happens on Class 3 or better soil. You're working with considerably less. But there are advantages that the brochures don't always emphasize. Summer daylight in the Yukon stretches to around 20 hours or more, which promotes rapid crop growth and partially compensates for the short season. According to a 2016 Canadian study, average temperatures in the Yukon have risen by about 2 degrees Celsius in the past 50 years, more than twice the global average, and winter temperatures have warmed by roughly 4 degrees. The territory is actively focused on food security, and local produce commands premium prices because the alternative is importing everything by road at enormous cost. Yukon farmers are growing vegetables, hay, raising livestock, and increasingly experimenting with crops that wouldn't have been viable a generation ago. There's a farmers market in Whitehorse, community-supported agriculture programs, restaurants eager for local produce. The honest assessment, this is not a program for hobbyists. You need to live in the Yukon for a year before you can even apply. You need capital, a real business plan, and the physical stamina to clear forested land in subarctic conditions. The twice-yearly inspections mean you can't coast, and free is misleading. You're paying with 7 years of hard labor on some of the most challenging agricultural land in the country. But if you've ever dreamed of true frontier farming, the kind where you're genuinely building something from nothing in a landscape that's equal parts beautiful and unforgiving, the Yukon is the only place in Canada where that dream is still a functioning government program. It's not free land, it's earned land. And for the right person, that distinction makes all the difference.
So there they are. 8 places in Canada where the land costs somewhere between nothing and the price of a drive-through coffee. Cochrane, with its mining-fueled boom and $10 lots. Pipestone and Reston, offering prairie homesteads for the price of a sandwich. Craik's quiet eco-village experiment. McAdam's dollar lot revival on the Maine border. Mundair's commercial Main Street gamble. South Knowlesville's radical experiment in communal land sharing. Koopar's reportedly decades-long open invitation. And the Yukon's frontier farming program that's been quietly giving away Crown land to anyone tough enough to work it. None of these are perfect. Every single one comes with a catch that will be a deal breaker for somebody. Distance, cold, isolation, limited services, the requirement to actually build something, not just own something, the expectation that you'll contribute to a community, not just consume from it. But here's what I keep coming back to. The national average home price in Canada has been hovering in the $670,000 to $700,000 range. In Toronto and Vancouver, you're looking at well over $1 million. An entire generation has been told that home ownership is a fantasy. And meanwhile, there are towns across this country, real towns, with real people, with real schools and real hospitals, practically begging someone to show up and build a life. That's not a fantasy, it's a trade-off. And trade-offs are what adults make when they're serious about changing their circumstances.
Every listing and program mentioned in this video is real. Do your own research, call the towns, visit before you commit, ask the hard questions about internet, about healthcare access, about winter road conditions. These places will be honest with you because they'd rather have you show up prepared than show up and leave. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these 8 towns would you actually consider? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who's been priced out of every market they've looked at, someone who's frustrated, someone who thinks owning land in Canada is impossible, send them this video. Because it's not impossible. It just looks different than they expected. If you got value out of this, hit that subscribe button. We do deep dives on affordable Canadian real estate every week, and the next one is already in the works. I'll see you in the next one.